You're listening to iLiveUK, changing the way you listen to radio. iLiveUK.
TalksHonest. TalksHonest. Hello and welcome to TalksHonest. You are tuned in to iLiveUK, changing the way you listen to radio. I'm your host, Miss Law, and this is a platform and an opportunity for you to discuss topics never spoken but often thought of. You can connect with us by contacting 0208 638 8503 or www.uk.iliveradio.com. And I think if you're of that mindset, then you shouldn't be entering into certain relationships.
Well,
because at the end of the day, as we get older, we're probably more likely to have children. When you join forces with another person, you're more likely to have an extension in family, i.e. you may have children and your partner may have children.
Yeah.
So I think it's key that obviously when you enter into these relationships, you're aware of what you actually want.
Well,
and if you're not looking for an extended family, then you shouldn't get into relationships with women with children.
Well, or men with children. Exactly. So this person, this lady, basically may be unaware that the child was there, and this is why we as parents we need to be, or adults looking after children, we need to be mindful when and how we have our conversations.
Indeed. Because
little ears or young ears can hear everything.
Indeed.
And I remember this person telling me that the person said, "Oh, this is not a hostel." Now, that young child heard that comment.
Wow.
And up to this day hasn't forgot it. So like you said, it has gone into this person's childhood, and this is something that they remember growing up
and still carry today,
and as carried today, like not being wanted. And
rejection, isn't it?
It's basically rejection. But then for the adult that actually made that comment to even forget that they even said something like that, and then want to build a relationship with that same said adult, because obviously they're the sibling of the children that this person had. It's like, well, why would I want to have a relationship with you if when I was a child you didn't want
to know me?
Why should I know you? So why should I know you now as an adult?
Yeah.
What has changed?
Yeah.
Because you hadn't apologized to that child to say, I'm really sorry that I said what I said. It actually had nothing to do with you. Blah, 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 blah. I was just angry, and so I said whatever, which I thought would have been hurtful.
So that child became the victim, basically.
The child became the victim, and the child didn't need to become the victim.
Yeah, but then again, it's down to that adult to actually sit down with that child, and actually have a conversation to rectify where that went wrong.
Yeah.
Because a child is a child, but however they're a human being, and they have feelings.
Definitely.
So therefore, if you do something to anyone, and you know it's wrong, it's down to you as an individual to sit down and have a conversation to clear that air. If you're not prepared to do that, then it says a lot about you as an individual.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, when we talk about mothering and fathering a child that's not your own, one key thing springs to mind. Is there a friendship?
Okay, is there a friendship between who?
Mother, father, child. Children.
I think it depends. In some cases, there can be a friendship develops between mother, father, child, or the new person coming in with that relationship. However, it's all about taking care and being careful how you approach things. I mean, there has to still be a balance in that. Like, okay, you're coming in as this new person. You don't just want to be over friendly just because you want to.
I do believe, and one thing we must retract and go back a little bit. It's dependent on how the child is introduced into the household.
Yeah.
This is one of the key things. Now, if you introduce your partner or your new partner as a friend, there's a perception. And this is why I asked the question, is there a friendship? Because some parents will introduce a new partner. This is my friend.
Oh, I've heard this is uncle so-and-so. So there's all different ways people introduce.
So we get the uncle, the aunt, we get the friend, or a friend who helps.
Yeah.
So there are two types of friends.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's the uncle, the aunt thing, which is a respectful thing, however, because it makes that child understand, okay, when that person enters the household, he's either my friend, or she's either my friend, or she's your uncle or aunt.
Yeah.
Now, respect is there to start with.
Yeah.
So how it goes from being a respectful situation to a non-respectful situation is at the point when that friendship becomes a relationship. And this is where I believe it all goes wrong. And I say that when a child quantifies a friend, it starts and ends somewhere. When they have thoughts of an uncle and aunt, there are boundaries once again. Now, when you have a partner that you have now moved on from being friends to a relationship, there's a line there. And that line needs to be relayed to children. Yes, they're children, but they're seeing changes.
Yeah.
They're seeing a person come into the household where they're sat on the sofa to you wake up and see that person in your bathroom.
Well, this is what I mean.
So respect, once again, is key.
Also letting the child know that this person's going to be there, like
communication.
I don't want to wake up in the morning, even though I see this person, maybe in the evening they might come round or come for a couple hours. Just imagine I'm waking up in the morning as a child and just seeing this person here, and I'm thinking, okay, I knew that this was my mum's friend, or this was my mum's this is my uncle, this my auntie, my uncle, or however they want to say it. That uncle thing is confusing for me.
Yeah, but that boils down to the respect level, and I get that.
Yeah,
I do really get that. And you do find that people who have introduced their children to potential or future partners, that respect is there, because you tend to find they always say uncle or auntie.
Yeah.
They never actually say Jay or Junior but they call them uncle.
Yeah.
And for me, that's quite respectful, because that means that person hasn't been introduced to them in the wrong way.
No.
Now, what happens in between them being uncle to something else is another question, and that's the transition where it can go wrong. And if you don't get that right, that's when it becomes a negative or a positive situation.
Definitely. And then it's like when that person then becomes more involved in the family, like, okay, you trust that person, but does your child necessarily trust that person to be around? Do you get what I mean? Like, you trust that person to be there, look after your kids, all the rest of it.
That the trust side of things is a tricky one also.
Yeah,
because you never can know a person that well.
Never.
What you have with that individual is one thing, but you can't gauge how a person's going to be towards your child, towards your parents, towards your siblings. You just know what the relationship is between you and that individual. So exposing a child to certain things, or expecting a partner who isn't the parent to do certain things, can be quite forceful. And sometimes it's down to that partner to draw the line.
Yeah.
And I do believe a lot of the time people just tend to go along with things because they want the relationship.
Yeah, but that can cause that can cause issues.
Yes.
Just going along with stuff, you know. You just got to be really mindful about how you're going to do those kind of things.
You've just got to make the right decisions.
I mean, it's going to be hard,
of course.
Anyway, like, it's not going to be smooth sailing, and it's never going to be just straightforward.
No.
And sometimes the child or the children do not gel with this person at all. But like you said, where is the line drawn then? Where does it stop?
When we really think about this whole situation, like, it's pretty confusing for all parties.
Definitely.
And I think the only person who actually benefits all around is the person who's entering into the relationship with someone away from the family unit, because what they're doing is they're fulfilling their needs. They have the partner, okay? They have their children. Now everybody else has to adjust to what they want or what they've entered into. This is my perception of it.
Okay, because I was a bit confused. So, so how does this person enter into this relationship feel when, don't get me wrong, they're just having a relationship with, I don't know if I've got this right, what you just said, but they're having a relationship with this new person who has children. However, did I get that wrong? Because it sounded like you were saying that they're not involved with the children or the extended family, but they're just involved with that one individual.
Okay.
Then how do they feel then? Because wouldn't they feel a bit left out?
Okay. The situation is this. I am seeking a partner.
Yeah.
I have 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
I have now introduced someone to the household to fulfill my needs. Okay? I'm not quantifying what the individual is going to go through who's entering the household with just the new partner.
Yeah.
I'm not quantifying what the child is going through, because I don't even know if that child even wants a new male in the household.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that the individual who has made that choice,
could be seen as selfish.
Exactly.
Sorry, there you go. I got you.
You got it.
I'm right there now. Sorry, guys. I'm right there. That just went a bit over my head.
This is why I think it's very important that you as an individual, when you're making those choices, knowing that you have children, male or female, that you actually look at the whole picture.
What if your children no longer live at home and you enter into a new relationship then? That's
still an issue, because they're still your children.
Of course.
At the end of the day, if those children are accustomed to seeing you, the mother or the father, in the home, which was originally their home, they're going to feel that anybody coming into that is coming into the child and the parent's space.
Yeah, but the child don't live there no more.
Doesn't matter. Okay. It's still their space.
It is still their space.
That's their sacred space.
Or it's still their parent.
100%.
Do you understand? Like, okay, so I know somebody, another example, that their parent got involved with somebody. Now, at the beginning, she didn't like this person. However, they managed to build a relationship, but then their dad ended up finishing with that person, and then a couple of years later getting involved with the next person. Now that cycle then started again. The daughter ended up liking the previous partner because obviously they had time to build a relationship. Didn't understand what went wrong with their father and the relationship that they were in, why they separated, and then this next person just came along. And sometimes when you're new in a relationship, you can try too hard to be liked by
sometimes
the
I think
family.
What it is it's not even about being liked, it's been about accepted. And acceptance is quite important to someone entering into a new arena.
Yeah, definitely.
So whether somebody likes you or not isn't really the issue. No. It's whether they accept you as being the partner of that other individual.
Right, so they didn't accept this new person coming in again because they just got over accepting this last person who you had a child with, who's now become... So now this person has your brother or sister. Like, whose responsibility is it to communicate all this stuff? Like, well, and think about the impact that it's going to have on all those individuals which are involved in this little relationship.
So that's a tricky situation, and it's common.
And it's common. It happens all the time.
Yeah, because obviously we all go into relationships, and some of us expect things, and when those things are not fulfilled, we feel that the relationship is not going anywhere. So we decide to exit, and we enter into a new relationship. But most of the time when we're going through whatever we're going through, or what we're actually doing, we're not actually factoring in the fact that you have children, you know, in the bay, waiting, seeing certain behaviours, seeing certain things that is possibly affected. All you're looking for as an individual is your personal wants. It's got nothing to do with whoever is affected. It only becomes an issue when those people who have been affected speak up.
Yeah.
Initially, you're just busy doing what you're doing, trying to find whatever you're looking for. You're not really concerned with the fact that, oh, you've got a 10-year-old sitting there. As far as you're concerned, and some people, and I'm not saying everyone, I'm generalising, they don't necessarily feel that anyone's being affected.
No.
Until it's brought to the forefront.
Yeah, until it comes to light.
Yeah, and most of the times when it comes to the forefront is when it becomes negative, i.e. someone's not happy about the situation. Someone has said something out of line that has offended someone, and now it's become an issue.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it once again boils down to communication. If you communicated how you're doing things and why you're doing things and why things have transpired or come to this situation, then people have a clear understanding why you went from here to there.
Yeah, but sometimes people don't feel that they need to give an explanation.
Well,
because it's their business or...
Well, this boils down to being selfish, because at the end of the day, if you're going to enter into other people's lives and you have things happening, or you've had things happening, it can have one of two effects. The person will be not privy to that information, or it's going to affect that individual that's entering into that whole equation. Yeah. Most of the times it's going to affect them, because whatever goes on in your past sometimes resurfaces.
What about those relationships which have been entered into and the relationship between that new adult and the child is positive? You know, like, there's lots of positive stuff going on.
For me, any child that gravitates to any individual other than their non-biological parent, when their parent has gone into another relationship, can only help them.
Yeah,
I don't think it is a negative thing. I think it only becomes a negative thing when the child is confused by what's going on. Yeah. And that tends to be the lack of communication which causes that confusion. And as a result of that, if the child is communicated with and if people are open and honest about situations and circumstances, then the child can only have a clear picture.
I got another scenario actually where we're talking in regards to mothering and fathering. Sometimes it's not necessarily that the parent or the father or the mother or the father has gone into a new relationship. It could be some unforeseen circumstances,
yes,
or that's impacted why that child can no longer be looked after by that parent. Yeah. Maybe they are raised by their aunt, their uncle, their grandmother.
Yeah,
you know,
at the end of the day, with regards to situations like that, the child has gone through something traumatic, possibly, and as a result of that, any change going forward can either traumatize them even more, or if they've had an opportunity to process that trauma or have had counselling, then they may be in a better position to accept someone new into their arena.
Yeah.
However, having said that, trauma is trauma.
Yeah.
You can't get over trauma.
I mean, you can't get over trauma. Well, you can kind of get over it with the positive. You can nurture it with the positive support.
But what about when that support isn't there? The trauma is still there.
The trauma is still there. But if there's ways that you can cope with it, like, I'm not saying that it's not there totally, it's been dismissed, it, you know, not even like a little incy bit of trauma's there. I'm just saying that with the adults that have raised you, may not be in your biological parents, but might be your aunt or your uncle, they would have helped you to cope with certain situations or given you ways to vent.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about what's wrong. In
some cases where a child builds a relationship with a mother or a father or an individual, male or female, sometimes they confide in that individual more because they feel that their parents can be a bit strict, or they don't listen so much when they're saying certain things. So sometimes having an outsider, when I say an outsider, I mean somebody who is not of biological attached to them, then you find that the child can sometimes communicate a lot more.
Yeah.
And they're more open to discuss certain things that they wouldn't even actually discuss with their parents, because what they've done is they've built a relationship, a friendship. They have that respect and they trust. Yeah,
and so, like, my thoughts on that is sometimes it's good to have that extra individual on the sideline that your child can go and talk to. So especially if there is a new partner in the mix, it might be nice that maybe if they didn't come to you as the mother or the father to say, actually, I don't like that person because whatever, they might have mentioned it to the aunt or the uncle, or a very close friend of yours. Then that can maybe come back to you and say, do you know what, maybe when we're having those outbursts of behaviour,
this is what it is,
this disruptive behaviour, this is basically what it is. It's because this is what happened. I couldn't come and tell you, mum or dad, because they're so absorbed in that relationship.
But I do feel that it's key as a parent. You have a role, and it's your child. You should know your child. You should know a lot of things about your child, and you can't necessarily use excuses to quantify you not being a good parent or not having good parenting skills.
Yeah, true.
So it's your role to make sure you dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and you identify when your child is not of sound mind or isn't in the right place or feeling certain things that make them feel uncomfortable. A lot of time I think we just get caught up in the moment, and the relationship becomes more important than...
you just get absorbed in it, don't you?
Indeed,
sometimes.
And that's for personal gratification. At the end of the day, that's what your wants are, that's what your needs are. So therefore your focus is now on yourself, which allows you to become quite selfish and actually forget about, hold on a second, there are children in the background. Now, influences are quite interesting. You know, how individuals influence our children, their futures, and just overall their being. You know, sometimes there are negative influences.
But like I was saying before, like sometimes there's positive.
Indeed there are.
Influences.
And these are the ones that are quite important. You know, but then again, it's good to have a balance. Definitely. It's good to have those bad influences that actually make you refocus where you're at, and the good influences that say, okay, which direction you intend to go.
Like in any kind of life experience, it's good to have positive and negatives so that you know how to deal with it. If it comes up, at least you know, okay, this is what happened this time round. I'm not going to allow this to happen next time round.
Learning curves.
And you'll see the flags will come up.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, okay, actually, maybe I'm not going to get into a relationship with this person, or I'm not going to bring this person around my children right now because we haven't established certain things and not certain foundations and not been put in place before you feel comfortable enough to introduce them to your children. I mean, it's a hard one.
It is.
It's a real hard one.
And it's hard on everyone. That being the parent with the children and the individual coming into that family unit, everyone is affected.
Yeah, definitely.
Mostly the person coming into the relation and the children. A lot of the times, the person who's seeking that experience don't necessarily see it.
No, they don't.
Because they're caught up in a moment. What they're doing is pleasing themselves.
Yeah.
Now, it's only when, like we're saying, things go wrong, people actually stand up and pay attention to what's actually happening around them, which obviously is a learning curve.
Yeah, definitely.
And at the end of the day, everything we do on a day-to-day basis is a learning.
Definitely.
It's a learning that we, but what we need to pay attention to is when we make these steps and we make these decisions, that we're actually paying attention to what repercussions happen or occur as a result of our actions.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, it's easy to say and hard to do.
Yes.
But we need to kind of factor in all the aspects which could be happening within this relationship.
Yeah.
Good, the bad and the ugly. It all needs to be taken into consideration.
It does.
And you might not think of it there and then on the spot.
Yeah.
But with each day, there's reflection, isn't there?
Yes. And like we've said all the time, it's you paying attention to what's happening around you. It's you communicating on every level. Because when you look at different scenarios and different situations, it always boils down to communication.
Yeah, definitely.
Everything seems to boil down to communication. We don't communicate, things go unspoken, things don't get resolved, and the picture's not very clear.
No.
Are there any final thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, as we know, getting into any kind of relationship is quite hard, and just take the time to think of where you are at as an individual, maybe before you bring that person into your home. Where is your child at? Was the relationship maybe that you had before, was there closure? Did your child get closure?
Yeah.
Do you know that your child got closure, or are they still in that space where they still got their expectations and hopes and dreams of maybe the relationship beforehand, whether it's with their actual parent, of them getting back together?
Yeah.
It's just having that level of respect for everybody that's involved.
It takes a village to raise a child. A child needs all the nourishment it can get for growth. When you enter into a relationship, there are so many things you need to factor in. You're not just a person with or without. You're a person that has an extension to you. You're an individual that's seeking certain things in your life, and to make them complete and to make them as positive and as good for you as possible, you need to stay communicated with individuals who are connecting with you, your families, your your friends. You do need to understand that every action that you make has a reaction, or there is a reflection on what you've done or said. So long as you respect and communicate amongst all parties, the bond can only get stronger. I would like to take this time to thank you for tuning in today. Good night and God bless.
What if we spoke honestly? What if we spoke honestly?